And we are concluding now our session with Fernando Cano Trevino. I hope I pronounce correctly his surname. Fernando is the Chief European Representative Office of Consejo Regulador de Tequila. He achieved with honor a law degree in Universidad de la Villa de Mexico, and followed also several courses which led him to be specialized on intellectual property. He is responsible of the international protection of appellation of origin tequila and the relation with all the public agencies, so WTO, European Commission, and so on. Since 2007, Fernando is also a member of Origin. He is really passionate about Mexican tradition and culture, but above all about tequila. He has 20 minutes as the others, but I'm quite sure that probably will be longer. So for the first time, maybe I can use my ball.
Why not?
But the floor is yours.
Thank you, Paula. Buenos dias. Well, good afternoon to everybody. It's really a pleasure to be here, to be one of the foreign GIs, to be in this event. Tequila, of course, is not a European GI, and despite the fact that we got very recently, thanks to the Commission, the recognition as geographical indication very recently, the 20th of March 2019. Thank you so much, Francis, for the great support in achieving this successful case, because we have been talking a lot about the GIs, protection, enforcement, but we need to focus a lot as well in consumers, because when a consumer, in this case, it can be a young consumer or an expert in tequila, when this person should be in front of a glass of tequila, should be authentic one. Otherwise, it can be even harmful for health. So GIs, in the case of tequila, for us, is tremendously important, not only to protect the GI as a whole, but of course to protect the interest of around 500 million consumers here in the European Union, and of course create a culture of awareness of knowing and responsible consumption, because we need to keep in mind spirit drinks are alcoholic drinks. So we move on to the slide, and first of all, I have the honor to represent the Tequila Regulatory Council, which is the board which gather all the actors in the production of tequila. Nowadays, up to now, we have 155 tequila producers. We have around 8,000 agave growers. The agave will be the raw material that I will show some details. This will be the magic of tequila. It's a raw material that ages on the field, that in order to produce tequila, you need to wait 10 years before you can extract the plant in order to transform it into tequila. So that's why tequila gives you this amazing energy. Maybe we brought a little bit of this great energy to Edinburgh with the sun. Imagine the agave plant gets around 2,500 sunny days, and all these sunny days, they can be inside of a good tequila. That's why Mexicans are happy, or when they are sad, they drink a little bit of tequila to get the animal going. So we have the Tequila Regulatory Council, which we are celebrating 25 years of this organization that I have the honor to represent, just as EUIPO is celebrating 25 years, so it's not coincidence. But yes, we have been dealing with the protection of tequila in Mexico and abroad, and I will go with more details regarding the activities that the Tequila Regulatory Council performs, of course, inspired in great European models such as Consejos Reguladores of Rioja, Ribera del Duero, or like in France, the CIBC, the Comité Interprofesional de Vin de Champagne, and mainly CRT has been inspired tremendously about one of the leading organizations protecting a geographical indication, which is the Scotch Whisky Association. So we have in the floor here Alan Park, the Director of Legal Affairs. So CRT, we have been learning a lot from this kind of international experiences. So we moved on to the slide, 25 years. So we did an international event in Mexico, which gathered all the geographical indications from abroad. We have cooperations agreement with cognac, with champagne, Scotch whiskey. So we did an international event celebrating this important achievement. So we're talking about new horizons, new perspectives of what is going on. I think it has been quite useful before I go on the details on the Brexit, but just to give you a brief explanation of what is going on in Mexico in terms of geographical indications, especially that Mexico has been historically and politically linked to the United States. We know that in the United States, they don't officially recognize GIs. They do recognize distinctive products. They do recognize certification trademarks, which is the case as tequila has been protected. But in the case of Mexico, we have a new industrial property law that defines the concept of geographical indication. Moreover, right now it's open to finally registry in Mexico at the national level, despite the fact that we have a very effective bilateral agreement with the European Union that confirm a very, very long relation of, please correct me if I'm wrong, Francis, of 22 years with Mexico. We started the first global agreement in 1997. It came into force in 2000. Then in only 2 years, between 2017, 2018, the new modern agreement between Mexico and the EU was concluded. It is intended to enter into force by 2020. But what is tremendously important about the agreement is as well the key component of protection of geographical indications. In Mexico, we are new. Tequila has only 45 years since it was officially recognized as an appellation of origin. If you think about Scotch whiskey, where eventually regulations related to geographical indications, the case of the Bavarian beer has around 500 years of the regulation protecting and defining the specifications of a product. This means quality, this means respect to traditions. In Mexico, nowadays, we have around 18 geographical indications. Not all the geographical indications that I listed are spirit drinks. Of course, tequila is the oldest one since 1974. It took 20 years to get a second geographical indication in Mexico, which right now it's quite popular as well in Europe. Maybe you have heard about it, mezcal, which is made of another variety of agave, but the two recent geographical indications on the road to be confirmed are raicilla, which is another spirit drink, and a coffee from the beautiful state of Oaxaca. So as you can see, Europe, worldwide speaking, is not an EU issue, geographical indications. Geographical indication is a worldwide issue. Thousands of geographical indications in China, around 500 geographical indications in America, 18 in Mexico, the most important tequila, having presence in 120 different countries with a value in the market of 1.5 billion with 1,800 different trademarks. So it's a big economy. I'm not going to focus on the economic issues because right now we're talking about legal aspects, but there's a lot of things behind a GI and as an intellectual property right. So we move very fast in order to gain some time and respect, of course, the distinguished panelists, and of course to open the floor to questions. This is the data that I mentioned. Of course, I would like just to focus on growth, even if it's in Spanish, just to tease you. But in any case, it's just to show you that since CRT was created in 1994, the growth of the exports of tequila has been represented in 245%, and the growth in production in 196%. So a GI is just the beginning of having a magnificent product. You need to have a solid organization that protects and organizes all the actors related to the geographical indication production. We have nowadays the top 10 markets for the export of tequila. Of course, our main market will be the United States of America with 82% 0.44 of the total exports. But in any case, we have the United Kingdom in the fifth place in terms of exports of tequila around the world. So indeed, it's an important market for tequila abroad. We have around 2,400,000 liters that have been exported and consumed in the UK in 2018. But what will be, of course, the challenges ahead? I mean, it's very nice to talk about the GIs, but when we saw, for example, the examples that Francis presented in his presentation, maybe these small African GIs or GIs from Morocco, such as l'huile d'argan, it's very challenging from the side of the user to achieve protection internationally speaking, because it's tremendously expensive and lengthy in some times. So it's very important to focus that we need to focus and to have more international treaties that can facilitate the registration of geographical indications around the world, such as Francis mentioned, the new Geneva Act of the Lisbon Agreement. This will be an important tool for facilitating the registry of GIs around the world. Up to now, WIPO has received 3 different ratifications. The first one from Cambodia, then secondly from as well from Albania quite recently. On the road are the European Union and Switzerland, so we're fully convinced that eventually by the end of this year or by next year, we will have another tool that will facilitate the registration and protection of geographical indications against counterfeiting products. So this is our challenges ahead. Of course, fight against claims of generosity. In Argentina, we're facing this problem. Of course, how to be successful is very important, to work in cooperation, as we do with other geographical indications associations, but we do work a lot in terms of risk analysis in the framework of EUIPO, IP enforcement. We work a lot with customs authorities, so it's very important to cooperate together in order to be successful. Of course, 2 important challenges that are not legal. Sustainability, I think one of the best examples of a policy related to sustainability is the case of the Scotch Whisky Association. If you think about the amount of water that a spirit drink can use for the final production, so you really need to take care of all the environmental issues. For example, in the case of tequila, you need 10 liters of water for 1 liter of tequila. You have 1 plant that stays on the soil for around 10 years. So if you don't control these aspects, because a geographical indication deeply depends on natural factors. So if we affect the natural factors, we are harming that geographical indication. So in our case, the wastes of the distillation process, the wastages of the agave plant, we are taking care with a new environmental policy in order to be successful and guarantee that all this will not impact the area, because the basic of a geographical indication are the human and, of course, the natural factors, and we're taking care of this matter very seriously. Talking about GI protection around the world, maybe we're not as successful as the Scotch whisky, but we have managed to obtain 50 different registries only for tequila in the case of CRT. The most recent registration as certification trademark was in the United States just barely 2 years ago, despite the fact that between Mexico and the United States, there's a current free trade agreement with, at that time, recognized since 1995 tequila as a distinctive product from Mexico. But sometimes when you go at the national level, it can take a lot of time. So we have cases as well in Brazil, the most recent recognitions. I'm not going to go in the details of this, but finally as well, tequila has been officially registered and recognized as a geographical indication in Brazil in 2019. We're tremendously tremendously happy about, of course, the recent protection that we obtained in the European level. We did a magnificent event with Commissioner Phil Hogan in order to receive this recognition that for us means quality and means respect and commitment in order to guarantee that all the tequila that will arrive to the European Union and eventually to the UK, of course, it should be authentic and only made, produced in Mexico. So we move with the next slide as well. Tequila is one of the most well-protected geographical indications in the European Union, especially because we have a long recognition that started since 1997 in the framework of the bilateral agreement between Mexico and the EU. Tequila did not stop over there. We filed for a European trademark at OAMI at that time, OHIM, and we have a current EU trademark since 2008 at EUIPO, because we're talking about sometimes some fraudulent cases or registries of trademarks, including the name of tequila on it. So it's very important to have as well protection, not only as a GI, but it's very useful to have protection as a trademark. Of course, we protect tequila at customs level. Tequila was the first GI from a third country to obtain protection under Regulation 608, 2013. And of course, the recognition of tequila as a GI since this year in 2019. And we don't want to wait to see what will be the situation of the negotiations of UK leaving the EU. We proceed in order to obtain eventually a certification trademark at the national level. This was filed on the 24th of April this year. So of course the next step will be right now to present to the EU UK IPO the regulations governing the use of tequila on the trademark. So despite the political issue, for us it's tremendously important to guarantee and to make sure that no free riding, not a misuse riding should be accepted in the UK, especially because you have heard about an important case for tequila regarding the use of tequila as an ingredient in a very tiny 0.00, eventually 1. And I'm making reference to the very, very interesting presentation of the professor regarding of the case Sorbet in Champagne. We have a very important case regarding the use of tequila as an ingredient in beers. So maybe you have heard about the beer called Desperados, which is a very important beer that its main market is not the United States. The main market of this beer produced by Heineken, the world leading company in the beer industry. Of course, CRT is a small organization, but we're trying to get the attention of the judges and the national authorities, because you cannot use largely in the label flavored beer with tequila. So the category of the product, it's beer. So you cannot put flavor with tequila and then in a small, it's beer. So it's very, very confusing, very, very deceptive from our side, because we want to teach consumers in the European Union, especially young people, what is tequila. It's not thinking about beer, tequila will get me drunk fast. No, it's about traditions. It's about taking care of something which is tremendously complicated to produce, which is this tequila as a spirit drink. So this is one of the most important cases that we're dealing at the international level. Of course, cooperation for us is tremendously important. Tequila works in an horizontal and parallel way with other geographical indications and appellations of origin around the globe, such as Prosecco, Rioja, Champagne, of course, Cognac, Scotch whiskey. Very important in order to exchange our best practices, to know what the Scotch whiskey has achieved in terms of the recognition of the product in Asia or any other world or in other places around the world. So it's very important to exchange best practices among the producers, and of course to monitor, because sometimes eventually if the Scotch whiskey may have an infringement in Mexico, we will help them. We will tell them, look, this eventually Scotch whiskey produced in Oaxaca, or tequila maybe produced in the highlands, talking about of evocation, respecting this tradition. We have faced these kind of cases in order to facilitate, and that's why cooperation is tremendously important. Cooperation at the worldwide level, which, by the way, you will be all invited. We will send all the details with Paula regarding this worldwide geographical indications event that will take place in Tbilisi, in Georgia, at the end of September. We're going to be celebrating the General Assembly of Origin, which Origin is an NGO which gathers the geographical indications from around the world, not only spirits. The Scotch Whisky Association is member of Origin, but we have wines as well, which are members of Origin. We see on the image Parmigiano Reggiano, mozzarella, Cano coffee, and other products from around the world. So cooperation, once again, I will just be one more minute, just following the example late of the professor. We're cooperating not only with the private sector, we are cooperating in the terms of these international EU platforms regarding the enforcement of GIs, which is tremendously important to share this information, because all the tequila shipments from Mexico, we are able to detect, because CRT grants a certificate of exports. So if we see that from the national level, something is departing that is not tequila, because counterfeit tequila arrives in Europe. 30,000 liters of tequila recently arrived to Germany. It was not an authentic tequila, so it was a fraudulent route that departed Mexico, Colombia, Caribbean, and at some point in the middle of the Atlantic, this distilled spirit turned into tequila. So it's crazy, I don't know why, but it can happen. So we are here to defend that and to make sure that anything that arrives in Europe, with the support of the private sector, with the support of the EU authorities, and of course with the support of the European Commission, we have been able to attack not only these cases, but right now it's a trend, the new Dutch tequila. I don't know if it has any kind of relation with Desperados beer, but it seems like it's very trendy right now, the use of the word tequila. So a very important challenge is not only to make sure that on the market you are successful, on the internet, how you're gonna be successful about this free riding of Dutch tequila, which by the case we were very successful in this case with the support of the Commission. As we're celebrating 20, before Andrea gave me these crazy balls. By the way, I don't know who's going to be coming to the gala dinner, but if Paula allows, I have brought some. I know that we're in the land of whiskey, sorry, Alan, but I brought an amazing tequila, so I'm sure that it will be lovely for me to just share you a little bit sip of Mexico throughout this tequila. And as we are celebrating 25 years of tequila and 45 years as the appellation of origin, a brief video of 2 minutes before we conclude this. Thank you so much. You will be listening for the very first time in Spanish, but with subtitles, The Voice of Tequila. Muchas gracias.
Soy conocido en todo el mundo. De hecho, soy uno de los máximos embajadores culturales que ha tenido mi país. Mis raíces se hunden en lo más profundo de una tierra impregnada con minerales que dan fuerza al espíritu que corre por mis venas. Mis abuelos son el agave azul tequilana Weber y el paisaje agavero. Mis abuelas son la tradición y la alegría de mi gente que ama su trabajo. Mi historia se remonta a siglos atrás, cuando los antiguos mexicanos descubrieron por casualidad el milagro de los azúcares escondidos en la savia de los agaves. Desde entonces, muchas fueron las formas en las que hombres decididos intentaron darme el cuerpo, la luz y el sabor que hoy es conocido y disfrutado prácticamente en todo el mundo. En mi elaboración está el azul de un cielo inmenso que se refleja en los ojos de hombres y mujeres buenos. Mi elaboración también condensa el sudor de los hombres que cortan los agaves para ajimarlos en una actividad que podría llamarse un arte. He sido el compañero de los mexicanos en sus alegrías y en sus penas, en banquetes y en lo arduo del final de una larga jornada laboral. Mi espíritu vive en las canciones, en las películas donde los hombres cantan y lloran. No cabe duda. Todas mis bondades vienen de la maravilla que es ver cómo se extienden los agaves en la maravilla de su paisaje, nombrado por su inusitada plasticidad, patrimonio de la humanidad. Soy de esta tierra, y en mi transparente cuerpo se puede ver y sentir el calor de una gente, el sol de un país, la generosidad de una nación. Todos conocen mi nombre, pero nunca está por demás decirlo. Soy el tequila, origen de la mexicana alegría, y tengo nombre y apellido, a partir del reconocimiento de la denominación de origen. Soy mexicano, señores, pero soy para todo el mundo, porque en cada sorbo de mí hay un pedacito de un México mágico y profundo, de un país intenso y extenso como su emblemática bebida.
Thank you very much, Fernando. Thank you. As you have seen, he's really passionate about tequila. I guess that we can try to let Mr. Trump have this video. Maybe he can help. Together with some bottle of tequila, please. So, by the way, I guess I really enjoyed the session. I hope you have done the same as me.